Howdy folks, in today's video we will take a deep dive into difficult surveillances, what you can do to prepare for them, and how to set client expectations. For any difficult surveillance job, you need to utilize all of your training, the right technology, teamwork if possible, and a lot of common sense. As I prep for all my cases, especially difficult surveillances, I always practice and prepare myself with my equipment, study where the subject may go, plan for how they might leave the area. But how do you classify a surveillance job as difficult or not? This is a bit subjective, to say the least. I don't think that there is necessarily a hard and fast rule, a line in the sand, if you will, that defines and delineates the difference between easy, regular, and difficult surveillance jobs. But there are some obvious attributes to a surveillance investigation that would classify it as an easy surveillance in my book. Many stationary surveillance jobs would fall into the category of easy surveillances to me. With stationary-only surveillance jobs, the biggest problem usually is getting into the neighborhood undetected, getting set up, hunkered down, then doing the job. Yes, there are difficult parts and pieces of stationary surveillance, like sitting all day long in the super hot heat of the summer or the frigid cold of the winter, but that comes with most surveillance jobs. For a stationary surveillance job to be classified as difficult, for me, is if it requires extraordinary measures to complete the job. For instance, I had a stationary surveillance assignment regarding a business fraud situation a while back where I had to sit for multiple days alongside a highway in the dead of summer in full sun all day, 16 hours a day, watching an industrial area. While this case seems to be a bit normal when you first look at it, the parts that made it difficult included the long 16-hour days, sitting on a highway risking drawing attention to my vehicle by the police and others, and the inherent health risks involved in doing these long surveillance jobs. I had to have plenty of water and ways to stay hydrated. I had to have plenty of food to keep me going each day, and I had to have the proper facilities to dispose said food and water, and we will just leave that at that. I also had to worry about my vehicle's battery dying with the flashers running all day, my equipment failing, sitting in the heat all day, and of course, what if the police did stop to check on the car and decided to have it towed away? And you know what? The police did stop by once to check out the car, and when I got done with my surveillance that night, I had one of those little orange tags affixed to my car stating I had 72 hours to move the vehicle. I was quite happy to see this, actually, as I knew it gave me 3 more days to work the case under the skies. I just had to remember to keep that orange tag affixed to my surveillance vehicle. I got through that case without incident, got the evidence I needed for my client, and everything worked out perfectly well. When it comes to mobile surveillance, the category of difficult is oftentimes breached more times than not. With mobile surveillance, the biggest challenge we all face is the simple fact the subject of the investigation has the luxury of choosing time and space. In other words, when and where he or she will go. You see, most clients have very little knowledge of what it takes to conduct a successful surveillance. Most clients rely heavy on what they have seen in the movies, in TV shows, and what they hear on the news. But what they don't know is even with those news stories they hear about, when they saw how the FBI, the CIA, or some other 3-lettered organization out there got the job done so easily, worked the case for weeks, months, or years on end, was the amount of resources it took to pull it off. Most surveillances involving any level of law enforcement is usually going to involve 3 or more operatives and a seemingly unlimited amount of financial and physical resources. But for us, the average Joe private investigator trying to make ends meet, trying to do the best job we can, we always find ourselves underfunded, under-resourced, and overworked. With mobile surveillance, I think many PIs would classify almost every job as difficult. And I get it. I understand why they might do that. But there is a definitive line between the norm and the really difficult ones out there, to be sure. Night surveillance, for instance, is one of the most difficult surveillances you can work. Many a client think it's easier at night. It is harder to get made or burned at night. You have the cover of the night to use to your advantage. But all that darkness, all those things that help hide the PI also work against the PI during mobile surveillance. In most cases, you can spot identifying marks on a vehicle, so when you're on the follow, you can use those identifying marks to help you keep tabs on a vehicle. Bumper stickers, dents, bangs, and scratches, light positions, distinct vehicle shapes, and even license plates are easier to see in the daylight and almost impossible to see at night unless you are in close proximity to the vehicle you are tailing. And these challenges grow exponentially as traffic gets heavier, as rush hour kicks in, and when tough traffic situations arise, like construction or auto accidents. Then there are foot surveillance challenges. The life cycle of most surveillance jobs starts out with stationary surveillance, transforms into mobile surveillance, then turns into foot surveillance, only to go back to mobile surveillance and end up in stationary surveillance again. And that cycle often repeats itself every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And all of that exposure to the subject of the investigation creates more risk of getting burned, more chances to get made, and more opportunities for the target to take notice of what is going on around them. And this is where setting client expectations up front at the beginning, before you ever go out on surveillance, is key to every single case you take on. Now, we cannot guarantee the outcome of our surveillance investigations, folks. We cannot know with any level of certainty how things will go down, what will occur, and what obstacles we will run into. But we can evaluate the possibilities and ensure the client knows of those possibilities as we prepare the case for them. If you're out there doing insurance surveillance jobs day in and day out, then the vast majority of your cases may very well fall into the category of normal. In fact, some may dip down into that easy level, with only a handful ever really qualifying as difficult surveillance investigations. And for those of you doing that type of work, you need to keep your eyes peeled, stay on your toes, and watch for those difficult ones just in case, so you can set the client's expectations properly. When they send you the case and you just email them back with a reply saying thanks, it really sets the expectation that it is just a normal run-of-the-mill surveillance job. So make sure if there are extraordinary circumstances to the case, you let your client know right away. Don't assume they already know. For the clients, they all appear to be the same. They're just going through the motions and sending out cases per their procedures and their protocols. You are making them aware of difficult situations, and this can aid you in many ways from the get-go. First off, you are letting them know there are these challenges that may present themselves, and those challenges may have a negative outcome on the case. Secondly, when you present those challenges, those difficult situations to the client, it affords you the opportunity to also present to them solutions to help overcome those negatives, such as utilizing a second investigator or starting early in the day. And we all know with insurance jobs there is an acceptable level of risk to getting made, getting burned, or losing the subject while conducting mobile surveillance. But when it comes to private clients, when we are discussing family matters, business dealings, and marital situations, the tolerance for risk is often much lower. If we are following our client's husband around and he takes notice of it, it is fairly obvious, and he will usually be able to put two and two together and figure out what is going on. As well, if we are following an ex-wife around with her kids, the risk of getting noticed and the risk of placing her or the children in a state of fear runs high too, and this can cause even more issues. These are the types of things we need to bring to the attention of our clients. We must inform them of the risks involved for them, as well inform them of the risks involved for us and what level of tolerance we have for our own risks. For instance, if I am working a child custody case, we always request 2 or more investigators, and we always follow at a distance. Yes, there are many times we do them only with one investigator, but we make the request for multiple investigators up front and set the expectation that we run a higher risk of getting made or burned with one, and we run a high risk of losing the subject in a follow, as we cannot afford to let the subject notice us or be in fear for their life. You see, folks, the brutal truth to the matter is that most clients simply do not know anything about real surveillance or the challenges involved, and they especially never think about the risks until we educate them about those difficulties. Once we do educate them on those risks, set the expectations up front, they will often understand and be able to step back, take a more conservative, realistic, and safe approach to having us conduct the surveillance. And you know what else? That is our job, to be honest and open with our clients about the case and what they can expect. Now, really quick, I want to send out a huge thank you to each of the PI Guy supporters out there. Thank you so much for showing your support for the channel. If you would like to support the PI Guy channel too, you can just click the join button or the link I have down below to get more information, or click the thanks button to leave a super thanks. A huge thanks goes out to my PI Guy Premium supporters. Your support helps me keep the grind going and keep making videos every week. Eric Hutchinson, Talk to London A. Till, and Nick STL, thank you each for your continued support as Premium PI Guy supporters. Now, if you would like to ride along with me on a live surveillance, then check out this video.